Hello, you bunch of folks. Figured I'd record a little video here explaining one of my favorite tricks with the sledge here. I got a couple of emails asking me about the dueling arpeggios. Something I didn't think the sledge could do, because I haven't seen this on a lot of other synthesizers, but you can have two totally different arpeggiators or arpeggio patches playing at once. You can either have them layered or split, and that opens the door significantly. And you'll notice the camera is pointed down, but that's intentional. You don't need to see my eyes. You don't need to see my eyes. Stop looking. Anyway, we got ourselves a very basic saw patch. Give it a little bit more oomph. So what I'll do is I'll turn on the arpeggiator. Your standard old boring arpeggio, right? And those who own a sledge will know you can go down the arpeggio menu. And you can choose, your direction, the pattern, how many octaves, 2, 3, 4, 5, all that good stuff. And then you can choose your clock and gate length. And below that, you could also choose like how you want the notes to be sorted. But for this, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. So we have a simple sawtooth wave, and now to layer a patch with the sledge, you would have to hold a chord. Has to be more than 2 notes. Hold a chord and then select your next patch, your desired program you want to make a synth sandwich out of. So with this, I'm on program 254. I'll layer it with program 200. So I'll hold a chord. Now, program 200 is like this prophet kind of. So I'm gonna turn this into a square just so you guys can kind of tell the difference between the 2 layers. Turn off the effects. Okay, so you hear that the square, the top layer patch, is still just polyphonic, and that's all good. I mean, if you have an arpeggiator and you go to like a nice pad, you'll get both. You'll get a nice pad and an arpeggio, or as you'll see, you can have 2 arpeggios. Now, that's not super impressive in itself. I mean, okay, you layered. So far, it's basically just 1 arpeggio across the whole thing. What's so special about that? Well, I'll tell you. Let me kick the square up an octave so you guys can kind of differentiate it easier. There we go. Well, I'm still in the arpeggio menu. I can go down. And BPM, the tempo, it'll affect both layers. I'll keep it at, I'll go to 130. So, go down. If I want, I can have I could change the direction of this top layer. The lower layer is an upward arpeggio. I could switch this one to a downward. Now, right off the bat, you hear they're playing different patterns, but since they're still within that same chord, that's awesome right off the bat. I remember my face lit up when I first discovered that. I'm like, oh, I'll go places with this. But now, what if I want, let's say I want this upper patch to also go an octave higher with its arpeggio range. Switch it to 2 octaves. Now that's cool too, but it's still not really mind-blowing. Where you end up in mind-blowing land is when you choose a different clock speed, because what that will do is it will allow you to change the speed of the upper arpeggio and still keep it in time with the bottom one. So it's set to 1/8 notes, or 1/8. So what if I switch it to 16ths? So now the lower arpeggio should be playing 1/8, and the upper should be playing 16ths. Now we're in a special place. Especially since it's just, what you're hearing is 2 oscillators. That's it. And no modulation. These are boring, lame patches. just for the solo demonstration. What if I change the gate length? What if I want to make it more quick and like pulsy? Let's change the gate length. There we go. Give the upper patch some release if I want. And then you could actually change the clock length to an uneven. I don't know what T. I think it means triplets. So we'll go to eighth note triplets. So you hear the bottom layer, even 1/8 notes. And then the upper layer is even eighth note triplets. I could go slower, go half speed. Add another oscillator. Make it a fifth. Oop. Yeah. So you could see where we're going. You can see how that may open the door. I'm gonna switch the by open the door, I mean to your creative potential. God, I'm stupid. I'll change the direction to Alt up and down. And I'll get the speed to 1/16 again. And I'm going to, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to give it the full 5-octave range. Just holding one note. And you're getting this. And now where this could come in handy, for me anyway, what I like to do is I'll have the bottom arpeggio like a bass kind of sound, like a pulsing, like you're hearing, and then you could give the more melodic stuff to the second layer. So that's really cool in itself. I think that that's a nice feature. Because you can always build the track around a pad, a good pad in an arpeggio. I mean, that's why they're called pads, right? Arpeggios themselves, like, what I'll do is I'll layer a pad with an arpeggio. So I'll go, Actually, instead of choosing that, I have a better kind of... I fucked that up, as you just saw. Now, you can actually have two arpeggiated patches split. I haven't tried that. But I'm assuming you can. So let's see if I'm wrong or not. I'll give myself this Newman-esque kind of angry. Put this on the bottom end. And for splitting the sledge, you just choose the key you want the split point to be. So in this case, I'll make it middle C. And then you choose another program. And I'll just go up. So now let's see if we can do that with an arpeggiator. So with this, I would just hold that middle C. I have to choose the tempo again because I layered it. So now let's see if I could have the arpeggiator on this as well. Oh my god, that actually works. You'll hear that it's double the speed. Let me take out some of those extra octaves and give it a more pure sound. So yeah, that works. Another tip. if you want to give an arpeggio some three-dimensional kind of depth, one thing I always do is add a delay, but you want to sync the delay time up to the arpeggio. Now on some synthesizers it's a matter of pressing the sync button, but that's like the Matrix Brute can do that. But for something like this, you just use the old-fashioned way. You just use your ears. So I'll get a arpeggio. Alright, a speed of 120 BPM. So now what we do is we go into delay, crank up that volume. That's almost in sync. So now we just slowly move the time knob until we hear it lock up. And there's a bunch of different points at which it'll lock, depending on the, the tempo of your arpeggio. So let's go through them. That's the first one right there. I'm at a tempo of 120, and the time is 40. I think it's 0:48. That's a quick slap back kind of doubled echo, and that's great when you have like a stubby short decay kind of sound like that, because then it adds to like a 16th note kind of ghosting effect. Now the next point, let's see. There it is, 80. This is the same speed as the arpeggio itself. But I think for this, I'm going to go even slower. This is my favorite one right here. Now I'm at time 102. Again, the tempo is the same, BPM 120, but you'll hear... And if you put it off just a little bit, like instead of 80, if you go to like 81 or you're just one digit off, maybe two, you'll start to get like that swung effect because it's not in perfect time. Right now I'm at 102. You can hear it's like ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. It's not like an even echo. Even, I think, would be 104. Nope, that's actually the other way. So let's go to 100. There it is. Perfectly even. So yeah. Oh, while we're in the neighborhood, there is another neat trick about the delay that I don't know if it's intentional or if it's a happy accident glitch, but I use this all the time. You ever want a little bit of a wider kind of stereo image on a sound, but you don't really necessarily want the extra modulation that chorus would give? You want, like this is something I'll use with a bass line every now and then. If I don't want to give it that full chorus smear, check it out. Here's a good kind of... You'll probably not be able to hear this very good on my Blue Yeti microphone, but it's just proof of concept. If I get to know your name, if I were to put chorus on this sound, two things are going to happen. First, I'm going to lose some of that attack. That's just the nature of a stereo chorus. If you got both attack times minimum and it's like really punchy and sharp, as soon as you put that chorus on, you're going to lose a little something, so watch. The sledge is pretty good. It keeps a pretty sharp edge, but you can still tell it's a little duller. But what if I want to keep that nice sharp edge and I want extra stereo width, but I don't want the modulation aspect like with chorus? Well, I could use the delay, actually. Turns out, if you go into the delay, turn it on, and set the time to like 0, 1, anywhere from like 0, 1 to like 10, you'll get just enough of a doubling effect that it'll be noticeable, but it won't it won't, it's not going to behave like it's modulating, it's not going to be out of tune. It'll just slightly widen the sound. So what I'll do is I'll set the delay time to 005 and give the level, crank that up to like 45. So now here's, yeah, you're not going to be able to hear this, I don't think, but you might. Yeah, I have the level cranked, and whenever you move the time just a little bit, like it's 7, the higher, the longer the time, the wider the sound gets until eventually it breaks apart, and you can tell that it's a delay. But if you keep it right up there in like the low, like below 10, so you'll get a pretty cool effect, a nice doubling stereo width effect for extra oomph without having to resort to chorus, which also frees you up to use other effects. Because if you had chorus on, you wouldn't be able to use a phaser, would you? So if I could keep that stereo width on and have a phaser. So that's always fun. Also, if you set the delay time to absolute 0, you'll get a stereo delay, and it seems to just be like locked to the BPM of the arpeggiator, but it'll only go to that speaker. Now, you may think, well, that's kind of stupid, and it only repeats once. Shut up, because watch. If you can't find some use for that musically, then, I don't know, you don't have a good imagination. Keep that in mind when you layer 2 arpeggio patches, that you can also add that into the mix. Yeah, so this should be this should wrap up the first horribly unorganized, rambling first episode. Oh, here comes a sneeze. Wow, just one. That's unusual. Usually I sneeze in triplets. Anyway, let me know if you guys think this video blows or if it was any use to you, and maybe I'll do some more little tips and tricks I found with this bad boy. Yeah.